Everyone, we're going to get started in just a minute or two. We're just letting more attendees join. Okay, hi everyone. We're going to get started now. So welcome to today's webinar. It's titled Tips for Passing the AWS Cloud Practitioner Certification Exam. My name's Alexandra and I'll be your MC for the next hour. So thank you so much for joining the conversation. So before we get started, we're going to cover off some of the webinar functionalities. During the webinar, everyone's microphones will be muted, but we want this to be an open discussion. So if you have any questions, please enter them in the Q&A box or the chat window at the bottom of your screen. There will be a dedicated question and answer session after the presentation. And today's webinar is being recorded, so a copy will be sent to all registrants by the end of the week. So today's speaker is Miles Brown. He's a senior cloud and DevOps advisor at ExitCertified. Miles has over 20 years experience in the IT industry across a variety of platforms. He's recognized as an AWS authorized instructor champion and a Google Cloud Platform professional architect and instructor. Miles has delivered award-winning training for some of the biggest cloud providers. So you might ask yourself, why choose ExitCertified for your AWS training? Professionals like you have been training with us since 2001. You want to know that your training provider has the credibility to earn your organization's trust, and ExitCertified delivers. We have vendor-approved IT training, and it's our only business. And when you train in our facilities, you'll find well-equipped classrooms, friendly staff who are dedicated to making your learning experience comfortable and productive. And when you train remotely with our IMVP platform, you'll see that our investment in technology makes online learning every bit as engaging as the training that you take in person. So if you have any questions about why you should take AWS training courses with ExitCertified or which course is right for you, this presentation will definitely help, but we will answer questions about that throughout the presentation. Okay, so we can get started. I'm going to pass it on to you, Miles.
Thanks, Alex. Well, welcome everybody. As Alex mentioned, this is tips for passing the Cloud Practitioner exam. And I have a bit of an agenda here. We thought we'd start with a quick overview of all the AWS certifications and then delve deeper into the Cloud Practitioner, which is sort of a foundational certification, one for anybody who bumps up against the cloud, even for non-technical people. And that's what makes it so attractive. It makes it very broadly desirable. So we'll get into what is covered in it and how that's really the big idea of this. And you don't necessarily want to hear just from somebody like me who's been using AWS for 10 years. Maybe you want to hear from somebody who may be non-technical, somebody who may be very new to AWS. And so I grabbed one of our colleagues. Dan Smith is a sales guy. He recently passed this certification. And so we'll sort of, pick his brain to find out what exactly did he do to get prepared for this. At the very end, I'll talk a little bit about a promotion we have called the Double Shot, where you buy an exam through ExitCertified. And if unfortunately you don't pass, you get a second attempt for free. And this is something that AWS has sort of built exclusively for ExitCertified to provide. And they don't usually have this kind of a second chance. But it is a limited time offer, and so we'll get into that at the very end. So let's jump into the overall AWS certification. Why do I want it? What are the certifications? For a long time now, cloud has been the #1 skill that companies need. Every year I see what are the jobs that are most demand in IT, and across the board, what we'll see is that, whether you're a developer, an architect, an operations person, everybody's hitting up against the cloud. And it's not going anywhere. It's only growing. Here we see that jobs that require cloud skills in the US are expected to grow by 28% in the next 5 years. And so this was a sort of a poll that was taken very recently of a bunch of technology leaders. Now, AWS certifications have been growing. And this is some stats that I got from Amazon directly. They told us that as of August 2020, over 400,000 individuals hold AWS certifications. And that grew by more than 85% between August 2019 and 2020. So Amazon themselves have been doing a real push for certifications. They want to get their people who use their product certified. A big push behind this is if you're an AWS partner through something called the APN, the AWS Partner Network. To achieve higher levels in your partnership, you have to have so many people with associate, so many people with foundational, so many people with professional certifications. So it's kind of an important idea. Now, these certifications, where they come from? Well, they're created by AWS. So AWS has, their customers, their partners, and their own employees help build these exams. They set the bar for passing score. What's the minimum candidate look like? Right? Now, do you want the certification? Well, that maybe your company is trying to achieve APN certification or something, so that might be one. But also, just personally, you want to sort of validate your skills, right? Show people that, hey, I know a little bit about the cloud. That's what this foundational one does. It says, I know a little bit about the cloud and specifically AWS. It'll help you build credibility and confidence. You actually get recognition of your expertise. You can get a badge that you could put on your LinkedIn. And it helps propel your career, especially if you get into the higher level certifications. If you're a deeply technical person, that can be important in job interviews and things like that. But what we really feel is that, just that act of becoming certified will make you better at the cloud, because that process of, learning all these things. And IT leaders, think that it's a very important thing. So there's a nice white paper that AWS sponsored that just came out, I guess almost, like a year ago. But it said 91% say that certification drive, 90% report increased productivity from people who were certified, 86% say it improves security. So one of the things that I find is that if you just go and learn AWS on your own to do your job, you learn what you need to do your job. And you don't end up investigating all the areas of AWS that you don't think you need. And it's one of those, you don't know what you don't know. And so what I find is that when people come and take our courses, a lot of times they'll come and take our courses before they go for a more advanced certification. They may end up learning about services that they never used before. And then when they get back to work, they say, oh, I should be using this service. So it really does help drive innovation. Right? You get the digital badge. If you get a certification, they'll give you discounts on your next certification. You get half off. You get free practice exam. At events, like if you go to AWS event, they have a certification lounge where you can go and they give you free swag and stuff like that. In general, they give you access to the AWS Certified store. So there's some really nice benefits of certification. So what are all the certifications? Well, here they are. For a long time, they had just these 5, the 3 associate and the 2 professional level. But what Amazon realized is that there really is that need for people who are maybe even non-technical, people who are management, salespeople, people who are talking to people about the cloud, but aren't deeply technical. And that's really what the cloud practitioner is for. Some people will, even if they are deeply technical, they'll start with that just to get one under their belt before they go for a higher level certification. But that's really what we're talking about today is this cloud practitioner. They say, ideally, you'd have 6 months of, being around the cloud. But to tell you the truth, you don't really need that much even. I would say you could come pretty cold, and if you took the sort of 1-day cloud practitioner essentials class and you did self-study, you could probably achieve that. And I think that's exactly what happened with my colleague, Dan. We'll get into it with him. He took the class with me, and then he did some self-study, just did some practice exams, and then reading up on, when he got one wrong, what did he get wrong about it? And I think within a few weeks, he was good to go. Okay? Of course, if you are deeply technical, there's a lot more certifications to go. And typically, for certifications, there's a 3 or 4 day class that will really help you prepare for it. And so that's how certified does, right? We have, say the 3-day architecting class or the SysOps class or the developing on AWS class. Those are classes that run almost every week. Then there are ones that are a lot more rare. If you get into machine learning, there's a nice 4-day machine learning pipeline class, but it doesn't run all that often because there's not that many really machine learning specialists looking for that. So we have a very robust public schedule. We also do private training if you have a group of people and you want to sort of mess with the hours or whatever, do it on your own time, tweak things a little bit. And so ExitCertified does all that. So let's jump in and talk specifically about this cloud practitioner certification, what to expect on the exam, and really, is it for you? Right? So here's what they say. It's individuals who have an overall understanding of AWS Cloud, whether in a technical or non-technical role, right? So what you're trying to show when you get this certification is that, you understand the basic architecture of what does AWS look like? What's the global infrastructure, the regions and availability zones, that kind of thing. And then why do we want to use the cloud? So some of the benefits and things like that. Some of the architectural principles and really the cloud value proposition, benefits of the cloud. And then, and this is probably the toughest part, is the ability to describe the key services. Right? When you look at the AWS Management Console, if you go set up an account, there's over 200 services. It must be very daunting if somebody comes in cold today and says, I got to learn AWS. 10 years ago when I started, there were 8 things in that list. And you said, I could learn all of AWS. Now there's so many niche services that I don't know what they do, and I don't need to know that. But there's about a dozen that everybody uses and another 20 more that most people use. And so you need to know kind of that 30,000 foot view of those main services. And it's good to understand a little bit about billing and account management, the pricing models, things like that. That's what we're talking about, is that you want to show that you have a high level understanding of this, of AWS. So the practitioner exam is minutes, and to complete the exam, there's 65 questions. They're all multiple choice. Now, sometimes it's choose 1 out of 4, sometimes it's choose 2 out of 5. So they have multiple choice and multiple response. But it's not the tricky ones where they say it's, like 10 different statements and it's 1, 3, and 7 are right, or no, 2 and 6 are right. It's nothing crazy like that. It's always, select 2 answers or select 1 answer. And so really, again, this is much the same, just talking about what you're supposed to be able to do, what's covered in the exam. Now, there is a nice cloud practitioner exam guide. This comes right from the AWS website. Let me just throw that into the chat. So any of these URLs that I'm going to include, I'll throw them into the chat just so you should be able to click on that in the chat and open it up in a browser. This is the exam guide where they kind of walk through what to expect. And, the exam is split up into these 4 domains, so security and compliance is about a quarter of the exam. They're not going to expect you to know anything specific about HIPAA compliance versus FedRAMP or any of that kind of stuff. But so it's really more security than compliance. And even the billing and pricing, there'll be a couple questions about on-demand versus reserved versus spot instances, something like that. And actually they have, a lot more details on what's covered in each of those domains. And then somewhere in here, they have the list of all the AWS services that are sort of fair game on the exam. And you see that it is quite a list. There's a lot of stuff in that list that could be asked about. Now, mostly it'll be very high level, map the name of the service to the description. And it could be services. There's a lot that are kind of like here, Amazon Elastic Block Store, Elastic File System. Like the word Elastic pops up all over the place. The word simple, we've got a bunch of those. We've got the simple queuing service, where here, simple queue service, simple notification service. So the names, if you've never seen it before, can be a little confusing. So it does take you a little bit of time to kind of be able to map that. And that's where the practice exams really help, kind of nail that down. All right. so let me jump right back into my slides. All right, so when you are ready to do the exam, you have to schedule the exam. There are testing centers where you can go. You either do your testing through one of two companies. There's one company called PMI, and the other company is called Pearson VUE. Personally, I use Pearson VUE because in the city where I live, there's a lot more options. But the physical test centers, are largely open again, but sometimes you have trouble getting an appointment time. So you don't have to go to a test center. It turns out you can also do online proctoring, which is where you actually do it from your own home or your office or something like that. So you have to choose between, do I want to go to a physical testing center, or am I going to do online proctoring? Am I going to use Pearson VUE or PSI? And so that really comes down to figuring out, where are the options near you. You also need to create an AWS certification account. So if you just go to aws.training, that's where you find your certification and everything else. You will have to set up an account, and then from there you go and schedule your exam. Now, this question about a testing center versus the online proctoring, the appointment times kind of vary by test center. At home, you can use your own computer. Now, there might be some problems with that. I think Dan's got, a tale of woe around that. So we'll hear from him. I've never had any big problems with the online proctoring. There are a couple sort of things. There's no breaks allowed. You're not allowed to talk really while you do it. So if you're a person who reads aloud when you do stuff, they don't like that. You can't bring a pen or paper. Like, they make sure that you don't have anything in vicinity when you first sign up for the online proctoring, it'll give you an option right away to run a system test. It's a good idea to run that right when you schedule your exam. Make sure that your computer has the capability to do it, and make sure you're doing that on the computer that you're going to use day of. But you might end up having to run that system test again. So usually if I'm going to set my exam for 11 a.m., I'm going to log in at 10:30. I'm going to give myself half an hour to make sure that I get in there. Read very carefully the confirmation email for the online proctoring. They have very strict rules on what's allowed. Like I said, Proctor had to ask myself. So there is, right? So you wait a few minutes until somebody comes on, and they just talk to you. They use the audio through your computer, and they talk to you and they say, okay, hey, can you sort of move your webcam around so I can see a little bit? Actually, even before that, you end up using your phone to take pictures of all four sides of your desk. They want to make sure that you don't have books or another person there to answer your questions. So really, check in early is the big thing there. So like I said, you take some pictures of what's going on. I had to actually relocate to a more suitable location. My home office had a mirror on one side, and they were like, no, that's no good. So I ended up going to my kitchen table, right? They want to make sure that you're not going to be disturbed, the people around you, and all that kind of thing. So, the online proctoring is good, but there are some caveats to watch out for. And like I said, Dan has some things that he's going to talk about as well. Now, how best to prepare? So this is what we're really here for. What are the resources for studying? The gold standard is instructor-led training, right? So we have a one-day authorized AWS class called the Cloud Practitioner Essentials. And this is a course that runs every week. Let me just throw that link into the chat in case you're looking to attend that class in person. Mostly we run them virtually, but it's a one-day class where we kind of overview those services. We start with what are the benefits of the cloud, what's that global infrastructure look like, some of that. And yeah, I heard that my audio broke up a little bit. I saw that my internet was going a little funky. Hopefully we haven't missed too much. So like I said, one-day instructor-led training, that's, gold standard, right? Next level is the 6-hour free digital version of the Cloud Practitioner Essentials. Now, AWS has moved all their free digital training into a website now. They just did this in October, called AWS Skill Builder. And let me go find that one for you. So this is the Cloud Practitioner Essentials. I guess I got to sign in. Let me just quickly do that. Oh, can't sign in. That doesn't sound good. Let me try all that again.
Miles, do you just want to check your audio or your internet connection while you were taking a look at this as well?
Yeah, no, I had a little internet problem, but I don't know why I can't get in. Here we go. Skill Builder. All right, I'm in now. And so this specific class it's about 6 hours of video. And, it's broken up. They have a bunch of little videos. Okay, I can jump right in. Start learning now. This is what it looks like. You say start course. And, it's got some diagrams and some lessons, and you walk through. And at the end of each module, there's a little quiz. Now, I wouldn't say that these quizzes are really exam quality questions. It's really just, hey, did you understand this module? And so that's the skill builder. It's pretty good. At the very end, they have a nice section on what to expect in the exam strategies, things like that. In addition to that, there's sample questions. There are some from the AWS in the link in here.
Sorry, Miles,
so that's the sample questions.
Would you be able to repeat that?
Yeah. I said that there are some free exam questions. I put that into the chat. So they're the sample ones. There's only a few of them. I think there's maybe 10. And then they got the answers at the end. AWS also has practice exams. Now, this one is sort of a paid kind of thing, where you pay $20 and you get one practice exam. These practice exams, I got a note about that on the next couple slides, so I'll come back to that. There are also third-party companies like WizLabs that create some practice exams, so we'll talk about those. And then there's always the frequently asked questions, the white papers, places to go learn more about AWS. What I would suggest is you start with some of these practice exams. And, when you find out, okay, I need to learn more in this area, then you might go, look at the frequently asked questions. If you're not understanding a particular service like S3, go read the frequently asked questions. Okay? So here's basically a heuristic for getting ready for the exam. Start with the one-day ILT, instructor-led training class, if possible. If that's not possible, then just go straight to the 6-hour set of videos, especially that last module that talks about the exam. Then go run through a practice exam. If you get less than 90% on the practice exam, find out what are the areas that you need to learn more about, study on those. And then just keep doing it. There's some pretty good white papers. I think this one, the overview of AWS, this is a very good white paper. So let me throw that into the chat as well. And that one, I think it really hits a lot of the main things covered. And then you can cross-reference that. It talks about a lot of services, but you're only interested in the services that are actually listed in the exam guide. That I put that link in already. And then I would just keep going back and iterating and doing more practice exams until you get 85, 90%. Then you're probably ready to go and schedule your real exam, right? Now, these practice exams, what I will say is the one from AWS, it costs $20. It doesn't tell you what questions you got right or wrong, right? Instead, you go through, do the whole exam, and it says, okay, you got this percentage. It'll tell you in the 4 domains how you did, but it won't tell you exactly which questions you got wrong. So it's not so good for studying. It's really good for simulating the actual exam. So maybe use this one last if you're going to use it. Because it does look and feel like the real exam. The third-party practice exams that are out there, they very much are geared towards people studying. And so these ones, like the ones from Wiz Labs, or some of my colleagues, like the ones from Udemy or A Cloud Guru, they're usually, very, but you get maybe a few different exams. And when you get a question wrong, it'll tell you why it's wrong. Sorry, did my audio cut out again? I think so. It'll tell you why why it's wrong and why the right answer is right. And so that's really how you learn. Right? And so there's the ones from Wiz Labs, Udemy, a couple of links in while Dan's talking, because we're going to hear from Dan pretty soon. But these are the real, keys to things. So let's hear from Dan. He's a seasoned account executive with ExitCertified. He's our senior partner manager for SAP training. He's been in IT for many years, but really not as a technologist. And, these days, many SAP deployments are now in the cloud, so it's good for him to know a little bit about AWS. But just in general, we got kind of a challenge from our AWS partner manager. He said, hey, how many of your salespeople have the foundational certification? And I said, at that point, none of them. He said, do you think you could get them that? And I said, yeah, you know what? It's a good idea, because they are talking to customers about the cloud and about AWS every day, and they're not technical people. And so there's terms that they must just go right over their head. So let's get that, baseline skill. And so I did a cloud practitioner class for them, kind of cut it up into smaller sections over a few days. And so they started with that, and then I gave them some ideas of self-study, and then they went off and did that. And this is exactly what Dan did. He attended my initial essentials class, and then studied on his own exam. So let's hear Dan. Dan, what did you do?
Hey guys, everybody hopefully can hear me okay. Miles, you're breaking up a little bit there, and but yes, so I don't actively sell our AWS portfolio to our clients. I help really on the SAP side, and I've been pretty myopic in that. So I know a lot about S4 implementations that are coming up, and ABAP and Fiori and lots of other areas of SAP. And so, but we are an AWS partner, and also support some of the other sales teams with their delivery. So I wanted to pass this exam. One of the things that was helpful is there was a bit of an internal competition, right? So I liked that fact that there was others taking it, and they wanted to get quite a few of us certified, right? And so I wanted to make sure that I was one of those, and so took the exam, or no, I took the class with Miles, which was really good, by the way. Thank you, Miles. So that was really my first familiarity with some of the terminology. We also put a pretty hard deadline because, we're backing up to end of the year. So, all of our product lines are busy. So I wanted to really get this off my plate quickly and really not forget what I learned in the class. And so I had 2 weeks to go ahead and work this out. I did sign up for, let me go ahead and share my screen and just, share a little bit here. Let's see here. Let's see, and we got 10, now we go here. Oh, hold on one second. There we go, and share. Okay, so let's see. You are seeing my screen there, Miles, right? Where the Wiz Labs are at, good. Excellent. So I took the Cloud Practitioner Essentials class. So that was a nice follow-up because that's, directly from AWS. It was free, additional materials. Now, I didn't have 6 hours to really go through the class again. Because I'm time constrained. So I went and I watched all the videos, part of the Cloud Practitioner class that reviewed the section. And they're really short. So they take the entire chapter of what they're learning, and then they condense it into like about a 1-minute review video. So I could just hear what they thought was key points to understand. The other really is the AWS study guide. A lot of it's terminology, so you really have to understand and just know what buckets they fall into. One of the key things, which a lot of the questions are, there's 5 pillars of the AWS well-architect framework, and then there's 6 benefits of cloud computing. they sliced and diced those two concepts into lots of different questions. So I know they change and things like that, but those, when they talk about some of their core concepts in here, really make sure that you understand some of the core concepts before you start getting into some of the really fringe things. Understand those core basics first, right? So then I'm like, okay, great. I've gone through those. I've watched some videos, and I'm a big fan of bite-sized chunks of learning because I had my day job, right? And I really wanted to pass this. So I'm just doing little half-hour to 45-minute sections a day and going through. And then I purchased the Whiz Labs. Right. There's a bunch of different, I don't work for WizLab. Like this is just some product out there. Right. So I'm sure there's a lot of good ones. What I liked about WizLabs is I think it was under $8. They had some kind of trial thing and I could get a bunch of them. So for me, I jumped in, and this is the interface. Excuse me. You can I think I had access to 5 different practice exams. They do give you a free exam if you want to try it out first. And then there's section exams just on key concepts. So if you just wanted to learn technology, but I'll show you just a quick example of why I really like these. So it'll 65 questions. It gives you an hour and 30 minutes. And then you start the quiz. You can start in practice mode first. And I'll show you what that does. It basically, so on the regular exam, you'll have a timer up here as opposed to the practice one. I did like taking it with the timer because it gave me the real world skills when I did take the AWS exam to be under a timer, right? So the nice thing about this is, so here, choose 2 answers. Well, these are probably wrong, which will probably be good, right? So it'll tell you which one you had right. And then it'll go down here in an explanation, and it'll give further information of why you got it incorrect and why you got it right. And from a learning perspective, for me as a learner, everybody learns differently, but going through this entire process and learning why it was wrong and what was right really helped to reinforce that knowledge base. So did the Whiz Labs. Again, I mentioned the practitioner there, and then I'll show you, this is my certification. So Credly was the certification. I can show you just a quick, let's see here.
Yeah, they send you an email to tell you to create an account in Credly, and
yes,
then it's very easy to add that to your LinkedIn profile.
Right. Exactly. And so, that's on there. But yeah, from a sharing perspective, this just really did help. I think having that 2-week deadline for myself, because I didn't want to wait 2 months, right? Because by then it wouldn't have mattered, and I really needed to make sure that it was done. So in terms of having a deadline, making sure that I go through the reviews, and then, I sat for the exam. 2 things for the exam. One is my work computer didn't allow me to, I went through the person's view online proctoring. And with that, it was, I forget what, I even wrote it down. It was, there is a plugin that my work computer didn't allow me to do the plugin. So I had to do it, I think it was OneView or something. And so they probably would have, and I could have got it through IT, but I just did it on my personal computer. Again, make sure you're there early, because you'll take a picture of your right, your left, your forward, and your back, and making sure that there's no, like I had to wipe my blackboard or my, whiteboard off and make sure that there was nothing listed on it. And then 2 last things, and then I'll turn it back over to Miles, that might be helpful, is the speaking thing. I do read the questions sometimes aloud, and they said, oh, that's your one-time warning. If you do it again, you will be terminated from this exam. And I'm like, oh, right. So anyway, so for me as a learner, I do like that. So you just be aware that try to not speak out loud. And then I have right next to me right here, a window, and I did one of these because my children were outside and I had to do one of these. And unfortunately, he said, up, your face went off the screen. If that happens again, your test will be terminated. I'm like, oh, okay, right. So there is a bit of a pressure there. Make sure that you just give yourself time. make sure that you do the tests, use the same computer that you're doing. I think that if somebody walks in your room or they see somebody else, they'll automatically terminate the exam. So anyway, these are just practical things. Hopefully it's helpful. But it was nice, and I already have used some of the knowledge that I've had in talking to my SAP clients who are talking about possibly going from ECC 6 to S4, or possibly the cloud, or a combination of migration. And it really has given me a better understanding of what those clients are using when they're deploying SAP on AWS. So for me, it was a good experience, and I'm glad I took the exam, and hopefully this is helpful to this audience.
Yeah, thanks, Dan. Really appreciate it. Yeah,
No problem.
I mean, I like the Whiz Labs as well. I like that, it shows you, these are the right answers, this is the wrong answer, and then why,
Right.
because really where you're going to learn from. That's very helpful. All right, let me just take over again. There was sort of one more main thing I wanted to talk about, which was the exam vouchers. And so you can buy your exam vouchers from ExitCertified. You can buy them directly from AWS as well. But right now we have this. It's called the double shot promotion. This isn't even something that you can get from Amazon's website. It's something exclusively for us. And the idea is, the best practice is actually schedule the exam and try it. But it's a little costly if you fail and then you have to do it again. If you have to pay every time, that's not ideal. But with this double shot, you can get a free exam retake. So if you don't pass, you get a second attempt. Now, it is a limited time offer. So here's the website. Let me just put that in the chat. So anybody looking for it, is the double shot promotion. Basically, you have to purchase your voucher through ExitCertified by the end of this year, by December 30th. And then you have to attempt the exam and the retake by, there's some dates here somewhere, by GIF of 2022. All right. This is just for the cloud practitioner. This is for all the AWS, certifications. So the foundational, the associate, the professional. But like Dan said, you don't want to start studying and then wait 6 months you're going to forget everything, right? So I think it's important to set a goal. And so, if you buy this thing now and you say, hey, I've got to do the first exam by mid-February, right? That gives you time to, go through those videos, get ready, do some practice exams, give your attempt. And if it doesn't work out, then okay, well, I got to go back and figure out, where am I missing? Read up some more, try again, right? So that's what I would suggest. So the double shot, and I think here we should have. This is the so there's the associate, the professional specialty, and the foundational voucher. The one we're looking at right there. So this voucher is 125 shots at the exam. And so that's our current promotion. We've never had that promotion before. AWS has never done this kind of promotion before. And so, we're hoping that it catches on and they realize this is valuable. We deal with a lot of different vendors. Some vendors automatically give you 2 attempts for an exam voucher. AWS has never done that. And so this is, I think people are starting to pick it up. We've been running this just since October. And, I think that really resonates with people because, that idea that, well, what if I fail? I got to pay again, and most people, they don't want to go back and try and bill their company twice if they're paying for the certification. Or a lot of companies won't. They'll only pay for one. So that's sort of an idea. All right. I think that was pretty much the end of our slides. We wanted to leave some time for questions. Now, I answered a few in the Q&A. Let's see. Yeah, one was about the exam vouchers. The slide deck. Yes, we'll be sending that. Wait, no, we send out the recording of the slide deck. But I think that I've got all the links from the deck I now put in the you should be able to click on those in the chat. I'm trying to see if there were any more questions in the chat that I missed. A lot of people like Dan's insights and tips. Yes, very helpful, Dan. I put some links to some practice exams from A Cloud Guru and from Udemy. Man, that Udemy one's really long. But if you want to take a look at one of those, so this looks like, I guess I'm in Canada, so it's showing me the Canadian pricing, $20, and it gives you 4 practice exams. The A Cloud Guru one, I think this one, they've got more of a monthly pricing kind of idea. So I don't know. I think you can probably buy just this is yearly pricing. Maybe you can just pay for a month and do a bunch of stuff from A Cloud Guru that way. But yeah, that tends to be more popular if you're going to be taking a bunch of stuff. Can we get a copy of the list of links? Yeah, I don't know what's the easiest way to do that. I just threw them all in the. Yeah, you know what I'll do? I'll maybe Alex, can I send maybe a PDF version? We'll send that along with the recording, PDF version of the slides. Then they at least have the links in there. I think that's what we're going to have to try and do. A question from William. Excellent information. Recommend taking exam online at home or in an authorized center. That's really personal preference. The authorized centers were closed for a long time, so that wasn't an option, because of COVID. But now most of them are open. What I would do is I would go. I would start with the Pearson VUE because they have more test centers, and I would look and see, hey, where are they in my area? If there's ones that I can get to easily, then, that might be an easier way to go because, like we said, both Dan and I had some problems with the at home. Like I ended up having to move to another desk. He ended up having to use his personal computer instead of his work computer. So, there are, there's less of those kinds of possible problems when you go into an authorized test center. But, if you live sort of remotely, there might not be a lot near you. So that's what I would say there. And then we have another question in the chat. When I click on certification in my AWS console, it tells me to log in through APN. It says I don't have an APN account. If I try and create one, I must agree to be the primary contact for my company. Yeah. So you don't have to create an APN account. You should be able to get into AWS.certification. So here, let me go to AWS.training /certification. And here it says sign in. And I think if you, let's see. Okay, I'm going to sign in. It says, okay, you can either sign in through APN or just with Amazon. And this, you're using an Amazon account, not an AWS account. And so, this one, I've got a bunch of different Amazon accounts now, but yeah, this one you should be able to create, not necessarily an APN one, because APN, that's a whole other deal. That your company has to be an AWS partner. And if you're the first one in, like you say, you might have to become the primary contact. That's not, you're better off to go this way and go to the Amazon sign in. And if you don't have one, then you can create an Amazon account here. And so I end up using one with my work email that's different from, my home one that I use to actually purchase things on Amazon.com. So, yes, if you use your personal AWS account instead of your company one, it's still valid for certification. Now, at some point, if your company is an APN, they might come and say, hey, you used a personal email address for your certification account. We're not seeing, we need so many people with valid certifications. There is a way to say, hey, yes, this is the email I use. Like you later set up an APN account and you can connect it back to your other non-AWS, non-APN account and say, yes, use my certifications. So you should be okay there. Oh, how long does the exam last? They give you 90 minutes, but I didn't use nearly that much time. Dan, are you still around?
Yeah, I think it took me an hour. I think because I went back and I think I even finished it like in 40 minutes, but I had plenty of time, so I kind of went back and I reviewed which and sometimes isn't always the best strategy, right? Because if you talk to some people, they're like, okay, if you're really unsure about it, but you can actually mark which ones to review. And then so I went back and I think I had 8 that I really wanted to review or something, right? And so it just gave me the extra time to either stick with my first guess or some of it was guess. And there were a few that felt like that were a little bit out of the, like, we didn't even know. But then I found out, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Miles, is that AWS sometimes throws in additional questions that won't even be tested on, or that aren't part of the overall exam score, that they're either trying out, or because there was a couple of them that were, I was like, I don't remember studying this at all. And only one, I think there was 1 or 2, but anyway. You can correct me if I'm wrong there.
Yeah, they definitely throw in some extra ones that may not even be marked, right? Or they have some that are there to find out if you're cheating in some way. Like they have these brain dump websites that, like, I think there's some interesting things there. But that's sort of a popular heuristic is as you go through the exam, if you've got a good idea of the answer it, go on. If you can narrow it down, like maybe 2 out of the 4 and you're not sure, I would guess one of them, but then mark for review. And then when you get to the last question, it'll show you a page and says, here's all the ones that you answered. Here's the ones that are marked for review. And then you can go back, because maybe the way that they worded a later question sort of solves, like it'll jog your memory in some way. Then when you go back, oh yeah, there it is. They don't give the actual percentage of pass. They don't tell you that. Do they give instant percentage of pass as exams progress? No. Basically, because there may even be questions that, because of some new development in AWS, that question is no longer valid. So it might be there but not scored. So they can't really tell you this is the passing rate, right? But it's probably somewhere between 70 and 80% pass. You have to get that many of the scored questions right. But yeah, they don't really tell us exactly.
And I one more thing I guess I'll add on my side is, because I kind of work with the partner and sales teams and we kind of took it together, and so we shared feedback back and forth. So if somebody asks us, is it a hard exam, right? Miles probably thinks so. No, right. But it's one of those, if I didn't study, I would not have passed it, right? Like it's not like, oh, I'm just going to show up. I take the 1-day practitioner class. And unless you're working with AWS a lot, you really have to understand those pillars, the core concepts. And if you're a quick learner and you memorize that stuff quickly, that's great. But if not, I think it really does. So in that terms, is it an easy exam? And I would say it's it's moderate. It's not so hard that, it was out of my reach, but it wasn't a give me, right? Like, it wasn't like, oh, sweet, I'm just ready to go and take it. And I know some people that failed it and had to take it a couple times, right? And that talk about AWS a lot more than I do. So with that, hopefully it's, that's an insight as well. So
yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, I mean, I've been using AWS for years, so for me, it would seem very easy, right? But if you're brand new to AWS, you definitely have to study. And hopefully that's what we've hit home here today, is that, practice exams really help. The ILT is good, but so is that, set of videos, especially at the very end where they talk specifically about the exam and they have some sample questions in there. Unfortunately, my audio was cutting out a little earlier. I think it's been okay during the Q&A, hopefully. Well, the questions seem to be slowing down a little. Oh, you don't have to choose your answer when you mark for review. You can leave it unanswered, mark for review. I would just suggest, if you've got it narrowed down to one of two answers, go with your gut feeling, pick one of them, just because what if something later happens and you run out of time? You'd rather have something answered. But yeah, you don't have to answer. You can just mark for review and come back to it blank. Good point. All right, thanks all. Alex, I think we're pretty much done.
Yeah, if there's no more questions, we'll wrap it up for today. And yeah, expect that email sometime before the end of the week with the recording of this webinar. And thank you all so much for attending today.
Oh, Barbara asks, are there negative points? No, there's no, you don't get docked for a wrong answer. So, guessing in lieu of nothing is a good idea. Joseph asked if we have any more of these for others. I think, this one was pretty popular. We got lots of interest in it. So maybe next we do one for the architect. That's sort of the next sort of most popular, the architect associate. The developer maybe after that, but yeah, keep your eyes open. We have a lot of webinars. I usually do a webinar sort of early in the year, kind of recapping either what happened at reInvent or, just new things in the data analytics stack. So we definitely have a few of those. So keep your eyes open for those webinars. We usually push them out to our AWS. Took the architect training, waiting for the webinar. Oh, okay. We'll see how quickly we can get one going.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to help you out. It's the sales guy on the architect or developer.
No, probably not.
So, but hey, I'm sure you'll find some other experts out there. So
no, I'll get a student to help me out. For questions needing two answers, do you get partial credit if you only get one? I don't think so. You know what? I've never seen them say one way or the other on those. That's a good question. All right, Alex, I think we're all done.
Great. Thanks, everyone.
Have a good day.